Do you wonder how to get rich and create wealth so you can stop working all the time and finally do all the things you wanted? Have you been trying to outperform at work by putting in longer hours, but even the best possible outcome for you is just a small raise next year? And to make the big bucks, you'll certainly need to put your head down and work hard for many years till you reach the top. Let me tell you the bad news first. If you think this way, you might be completely wrong. The good news is, if you watch this video till the end, together we can help you think about wealth creation in the right way and hopefully put you on a path to gain your financial freedom and create genuine, sustainable wealth without depending on a job or needing to work super hard. Sounds too good to be true? There's only one way to find out. Hi guys, my name is Akshay Goenka and the team on this channel has spent years at the most prestigious companies and fast growth startups while learning how to de-link wealth creation from a single source like a salary and also try and understand what wealth truly means beyond money. Do subscribe to continue down this journey of building a professional life full of peace, productivity and purpose with us. So, back to it. Let me first break your notion that wealth is only about money. In my belief, wealth is a function of three things: money, time and leverage, and understanding the relationship between them is the key to getting rich. Money is simply a unit of measurement or transfer, but to create wealth, it's the rate at which you earn money that matters, which is money divided by time. The more money per unit time you can earn, the more leverage you have, and hence leverage is the key to the kingdom. The unique ability to earn more with less time and effort. The famous Greek mathematician Archimedes had a great quote about this. He said, "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand and I can move the earth." Read that again. Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand and I can move the earth. The same notion applies to your wealth. The more leverage you have, the more money you can move per unit time. And the relevant forms of leverage for you to utilize in your life are people, equity, skills, and technology. Let's spend the next 10 minutes understanding what these forms of leverage mean and then discuss simple, practical ways to start using these concepts today. Let me try and illustrate this in a simple chart. Take a minute to process it. From left to right, you have increasing leverage. The left section is where all the salaried jobs sit, where you're employed by a company and the compensation you receive is basically money. On the right, when you move away from being salaried, are 5 boxes. The black one is unlevered, but the pink box illustrates people leverage, the blue one equity, the orange one is skills and experiences, and the green one is technology. Let's start on the extreme left. This is the most unleveraged that you can be, where you basically earn a salary and in some sense you are getting paid for your time. The most basic example of this is a mason or a bricklayer who gets paid an hourly wage. Most other salaried jobs are not very different, even though compensation is spoken of in annual terms, but in effect you are paid by the hour for time you spend on work. In fact, one of the biggest things we miss out on when evaluating jobs is the earning per hour. We think and compare annual salaries without realizing that the time invested is completely different, and hence we're looking at the wrong metric. If you are considering, say, investment banking and big tech after a business course, then while investment banking might seem to pay 10, 20, 30% more, but when you divide it by the number of hours, the options might look very different. Moving a bit to the right, the very first kind of gains from leverage that many of you would have experienced is from people. When we become managers at work, we have the ability to get output not just from ourselves but also from a collective unit. What's more, if you're a good manager, as I'm sure you are, you can get a lot more output from the same team. For example, a skilled manager at, say, a call center can increase the number of calls serviced or improve the service rating with the same team. But the awesome part is, even if they fall sick, the output doesn't suffer much because the team is still going on. They are able to start to de-link output from time, and rather it starts to come from their management skills. But in a salaried environment, the benefits of this leverage are understandably kept by the owners of the company. What you get is a very small portion, basically an increase in your salary. Without ownership or equity in the business, you can't enjoy a larger piece of the people leverage pie. Which brings us to the second box in blue, equity, which means owning some share of the business. The share in the business is now dealing from any effort that you put in. When you buy a stock on the stock market, that stock will gain, or lose value and pay you a dividend with no effort from you. The best example of direct equity is the ESOPs or stock allocations that employers tend to give from big companies like Apple to smaller startups. All of them pay some combination of money but also stock. The extreme example of this is, of course, investing in a startup or starting up yourself. To push our thinking, imagine if you could have bought 1% of Google's stock on the day it was founded. You could have sat around drinking beer and playing ping pong for the last 2 decades and you would still be worth $10 billion. If you are thinking already that the big factor here is risk, you're right. It's way more risky to start up or invest a large proportion of your savings in 1 or 2 high potential businesses than to invest in, say, a well-hedged stock portfolio or work at a stable but growing company that allocates you some stock. While you have to choose your risk-reward position, ideally in consultation with a financial advisor, the message to take away is articulated really well by one of the best thinkers of our time, Naval Ravikant. And he says, to gain your financial freedom, you must own a piece of the business. Well said. More on how to do that later in this video. Let's move on to the orange box, the second form of leverage, skills and expertise. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think should be paid more today? A normal software developer or a software developer with experience of working on ChatGPT? What about a petrol car designer or an electric car designer? How about someone who knows how to make newspaper ads? Or someone who not only knows how to make ads for social media but also for new age platforms like smart TVs? I think you get my point. Acquiring specific skills and knowledge creates disproportionate value. Everyone from developers to lawyers to advisors to content creators can earn so much more in the same amount of time if they build and leverage a unique skill that is short in supply in the market. An extreme example of this to help you understand is someone like Warren Buffett in investing. His years of expertise and judgment and performance in investing is so valuable that another investor or fund would pay him probably more for 1 hour of advice than your entire annual salary. Next, let's talk about technology, which is in the green box. Technology allows us to duplicate a product or a service with no extra cost or time. A good example of this is media and also code. Digital media helps distribute at scale with no additional cost. If you are a career counselor physically, maybe you can make 5, maybe 10 appointments in a day. But if you're a career counselor on YouTube, 10 million, 20 million people can watch a single video you make on career advice. If you're a movie maker, you would earlier need to print CDs and pay the theater halls, but now you could just upload them to a platform like YouTube or Netflix and instantly gain millions of viewers. Code is also a powerful form of technology leverage. One piece of code in the form of an app or an algorithm or a plugin can be written once but used by many people with no extra cost. Everyone from TikTok influencers to mobile app developers and startups are using technology as their form of leverage, and the best part of it is it's free. Now, the real magic happens when you start to combine some of these boxes together. A TikTok influencer is great, but what about a TikTok influencer who is focused on the skill of personal finance that everyone seems to want nowadays, and on top of that, they've created a personal finance app that's leveraging code and invested their money in this business as equity in a startup, and finally hired people on salaries to actually build and work on this code. All these forms of leverage will combine to multiply in their effect now. So now we understand why wealth is a function of time and money and leverage. So you would naturally ask, what should I do? Should I quit my job and start up? Should I go back to college to learn a relevant skill? Should I suddenly invest a large part of my money in a startup? Well, you could, but those are all kind of risky moves. Let me tell you a smarter, more risk-free and practical way to begin to gain financial leverage starting tomorrow. And the trick lies in realizing that we don't have to find our place in just one of these boxes. We need to find our place in many of these boxes. Let me explain. To gain equity leverage, why not think about how to invest some of the money you've saved? This can be in the stock market or various kinds of funds or even in a few startups. It all depends on your financial position and your risk appetite, and it's worth seeking out the right advice from an expert. In addition, As you think about the next job you take up, if you're thinking about career advancement at this moment, try to look for something that allows you to hold equity in the business. This can again be based on your risk appetite. Large tech companies like Google and Salesforce will offer you a small but yet valuable piece of equity, especially if the timing is right, and with relatively lower risk in the medium and long term. You can also join a more early stage company like a startup across industries, which, for example, will give you a larger but a riskier share. And of course, there's always the possibility of starting up yourself, but this is a super risky move that should be carefully considered and evaluated. Second, to gain skills and expertise, look both internally and externally. Internally, look at your current job. Evaluate if you're in a position to gain this kind of valuable specific skill, and if not, what would it take to put yourself in that position? Maybe a switch to another project or an internal transfer to a different department. This might need a tough conversation with your superiors, and if you need my help to do this, I have an incredible method to have tough conversations and say no at work, and I'll leave a link to that video up here and down below. If your current job is not allowing you these opportunities, then you can potentially evaluate another job that allows you to build valuable skills and hopefully also starts to let you gain a little bit of equity in the business. And by the way, outside of your job, there's simply no excuse for not gaining skills. There are countless free resources to learn just about anything, from coding to content creation to AI. There's nothing you can't learn online. Third, technology. This remains my favorite because it makes opportunities to gain wealth more equal for everyone. Literally anyone can become an influencer or a content creator on a topic that they are distinctive at, and there's an audience for just about anything nowadays. With the global reach of platforms like YouTube, it's becoming easier and easier to start up, and it's not always important to quit your job to start up. There are many things to start experimenting with on the side already. For example, if you have a great idea for a customer product, why not build an app for it on the side? If your product is physical, like clothes or design or DIY kits, why not start small by selling it on a third-party platform or an app or a service like Amazon or Etsy or the million others that are out there? If you are thinking about how to do this, I have a great video on building multiple careers that I'll link up here and down below. What I want you to take away is this: without leverage, you will never get rich. And one of the biggest mistakes to make on this leverage chart is thinking that you have to take only one position on it. So now that you understand how wealth is created by leverage, I'll urge you not to click away to the next video without pausing this for 2 minutes and writing down how you can start to build leverage in your life starting today across all of these areas. But there's one more thing. What about the value of your time? Is wealth just about the money you accumulate with the least effort possible? Or is it also about the time that you have to spend it and the time that you need to invest in these forms of leverage? If you've been working 12, 14, 16 hours a day at your job, would you really have the time to build skills or use technology as leverage? If your answer, like mine, is no, then that means that time is actually money. And understanding how to actually put a value on your time will completely transform your life. So hop over to my other video on the value of time by clicking right here, and don't miss an opportunity to think of today as the day you change the direction of your life. See you there. Thanks for watching. Leave us a comment on what you thought and whether you liked this video. And if you haven't already, click on the link to go to my video on time management.